Hello and welcome to Helen Joy Creates. I've got a little bit of a different video for you today as we were going to be moving to Zambia. For those of you who don't know, we actually moved to Zambia 2 years ago. Then we were planning a trip back to England just for a couple of months this year, but as you all know, things changed for everyone around the world in 2020. So we ended up being in England for about 8 months before we finally managed to sort out our health insurance and flights and things to be able to go back. So this is our journey back to Zambia with quite a lot of suitcases. I particularly wanted to show in this video just the difference of surroundings from how living in the south of England, this is in Dorset in the countryside, and where we live in Zambia is. So I've taken video of our journey, of the roads, and also a little bit of our flight and the meals. So I'm gluten and dairy intolerant, so just to see some of that. Right, we got all packed up into the taxi. We got an 8-seater taxi, and this is us driving through Dorchester town, then towards the main roads, and then eventually we made it onto the motorway. So yeah, this is just the countryside in Dorset, the nice fields, autumn turning into winter. It was about 4 or 5 degrees centigrade. Then yep, onto the motorway and towards Heathrow Airport. So we were travelling on the last day of national lockdown in England, so both the roads and the airport were much quieter than they normally would, which meant it only took us a couple of hours to get to the airport. I'm always intrigued what bathrooms are like in different places, so thought I would just do a video of the bathroom in Heathrow Airport. So there's a little video playing, if you saw in that screen, and then the soap and the taps and the hand dryers are just like this. So I thought it was quite fun that they've made the tap and hand dryer almost like looking like an aeroplane's wings. I thought that was fun. On the day we were travelling, there was also a strike by some of the workers at the airport, so we came super early just to make sure that there wasn't any hold up with anything. So we had quite a bit of waiting around to do. We didn't have any chairs at first, but then we found some chairs after a couple of hours, so at least we're able to sit on some chairs, or as you saw there, sit on your sister. Then we finally made our way to check-in, which thankfully went smoothly, then through security, and then they have these water filling stations so that you can fill up your bottles, as obviously you can't take liquids through security. Then we did a little bit more waiting and had some snacks. Due to the lockdown, most restaurants were closed, but there were a few places open that we could get. So this was the plane that we were going to get on. Sorry about the focus, it was hard trying to see the plane and the camera not focusing on the window there. So here we were ready to get on. So we got our seats, and as the plane was half empty, we actually managed to have about 9 seats between the 5 of us, and they gave us some hand sanitizer as we came in, and we could spread out a bit. So I thought I'd share the meals with you. So this was one of the normal meals. So you get a little cup of water there, and a bread roll with some cheese and butter, and also some crackers, and it was, I think, an orzo salad, so like a pasta salad, and then like a chocolate caramel mousse. Then the hot part of the meal, I think there was a choice of vegetable, chicken or beef, and my kids all chose the chicken. There was chicken in a sort of mushroom sauce with vegetables and rice. So I had the gluten-free meal, and I was a little disappointed with this one, I have to admit. So in my box I had water, and I had a fresh fruit salad and a pot of fruit salad. So I wasn't so impressed with that. But for my hot meal, I was given some potatoes and broccoli and chicken in a tomato sauce, which I must admit it was very tasty. I do think maybe the vegetables were a little over salted, but I'm someone who doesn't tend to add salt to their food. So as you can see, our flights took us from London to Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, where we then had to wait another few hours for our connecting flight. We were starting to get quite tired at this point as it was an overnight flight, and I personally never really sleep on those, and we'd lost 3 hours on the clock as well at this point. We then had a 3 hour wait in Addis Ababa for our flight, but we also knew that we were meeting a friend who was connecting here from her flight in the States as well. So that was quite nice to see her and spend time with her before we got on our flight. Although this flight eventually takes us to Zambia, it actually stops off in Congo for a couple of hours to drop off and pick up some more passengers. So this was a 3.5 hour flight, and then we stayed on the plane, but other passengers got off and others got on, and a couple of hours later then flew for about 35 minutes until we landed in Zambia. By this point it was lunch again, so we had another meal, and again I will show you the normal option and the gluten-free option. So this was the gluten-free option. So there was a bean salad, and they also had some margarine and cream cheese. So, and again fruit salad and some rice cakes. I wasn't so impressed with the rice cakes. They were really chewy and hard to eat. Then the hot food gluten-free option was rice with fish and vegetables. At first I thought it was quite a dry meal, but then actually as I dug down under the vegetables there was a tomato sauce, which then I was able to mix with the rice, and actually this was really flavourful. Then my son chose the chicken option again, so that was rice and chicken, and then again a pasta salad with bread and cheese as the side option. At this point in the journey, it's been about 24 hours since we left the house, and we are now flying over Zambia. They've had a little bit of rain over the last month or so, so the ground is starting to look a little bit green again. So for those of you who don't know, Zambia tends to have about 6 months of the year, around sort of April, May time to October, where it fairly much does not rain at all. And then from October, November, it starts to rain up until April. So the land was very dry beforehand, but obviously with the rain starting, things are starting to get green again. And this is Ndola, which is the second largest city in Zambia and the closest airport to where we live. So once we land, we then have a couple of hours drive to where we live. And just as we were arriving, there was a rainbow in the sky, which is so pretty to land with that. But that obviously shows that there's some rain clouds in the air, which we ended up going through. So here you can see a better view of the city as we fly over it. Then as we start descending, coming to land, you can still see there's patches of dry area. I guess most of that though is cleared area for things like car parks and stuff like that. But you might notice the soil is quite red, which I think is quite unusual for Brits to see. In the distance there, in the sort of centre, you can see Ndola Football Stadium, which later on you'll see as we drive past it. So this is Ndola Airport, quite a small airport, just a couple of buildings really, one arrivals and one departures. So off we got from the plane with our hand luggage into the heat of Zambia. There's 3 queues to join depending on what kind of a visa or permit you have, and then just behind the kiosks is where you would pick up your luggage. Then we got picked up in a bus and some friends with a car as well, so that we could get all our luggage back to the college. So this is a 2-hour drive from the city of Ndola to Kitwe. We did a very quick stop off at the local shopping centre just to get some drinks and snacks to keep us going till we got home. Many of the roads have potholes that you need to navigate your way around, as well as the traffic. The state of the roads aren't helped by the different weather with the heavy rainfall and extreme heat at the same time. But I must say, in the last 2 years of us being in Zambia, I've definitely noticed that there's been a lot of repair work on roads, and the roads are generally quite a bit better than what they were when we first arrived. Then this is a view of Ndola Football Stadium from the road. We saw it earlier flying over. And this is the dual carriageway. So this runs from Ndola all the way to Kitwe and a little bit further on as well. It's the only dual carriageway in the country so far, and we're very pleased that it takes us from the airport to our house. Compared to what we're used to in England, particularly London, the roads here are quite quiet, so it's generally a fairly pleasant drive. The beeping horn is Chris and the other kids passing us in the car. There they go. As you drive along, you'll notice on the sides of the road people selling various things. Things like fruit and veg, to drinks, eggs, even live chickens, charcoal. You could even buy yourself a 3-piece suite at the side of the road. So about an hour and a half later, we start to enter Kitwe. So in front of you, you might be able to see what looks like a rather large sort of black mountain, which is the waste product from the mining that happens in the area. It has in the past been quite a dangerous area, and people have died when there's been a bit of an avalanche of the material falling down. You can see as we're getting into town, traffic getting a little bit busier now. And like I said previously, when we first arrived a couple of years ago, this road was pretty potholy and, well, I guess just dangerous, as cars just were going all over the place to avoid the potholes. But they've done a great job on fixing the roads up through the centre of town, which makes it a much safer and easier journey now. Then as we come out the other side of town, you'll notice that the state of the roads get a little worse. So we travel up this road. So this is coming out the other side of Kitwe, and we live on a farm just a little bit further out from here. We then turn off the central main road onto another road, which will take us to a service track, which is the track that we need to follow, which will take us to our farm. So here's our turning on the left.
He's big to be going this way.
And we go up this track for about 15 minutes before we get to the college and our house. As it's been raining, there are a few large puddles we need to navigate along the way. The truck in front of us finally turned off, so I can show you a little bit of a better view of the journey. You can see on the sides of the roads people have been digging up the land ready for planting seeds. As the rains have started, this is the perfect time of year for growing your plants. This next bit of road used to be tarmacked, which actually makes the condition of the road worse. It probably would have been better just to be left as a dirt road so that it could be compacted down rather than worrying about tarmacking it and then it disintegrating and it not then being repaired. If you can just about make out the hills in front of you, at the top of the hill is basically where we live, so it's about another 10 minutes drive from this point. So this bridge that we're about to cross is fine at the moment, but usually at the end of the rainy season, or even before that, maybe in January or February, if there's been a lot of rain, the water comes right up over this bridge, so we are not able to cross it and have to drive round the long way to get into town. You might notice a branch of leaves on the road here, and that's to show you that the truck ahead has broken down. They should have some warning triangles too, but they often will put branches further out just to give you enough time to see that you need to slow down. And just as we come past the truck, you can see the sign for Proclamation Institute Zambia, which is the college where we live and work. So this is our, I guess you could call it a kind of driveway. It's the track that goes to the gate of the college. That small building by the gate is the security guard's hut, which has been built while we've been away. So it's nice to see that they've got somewhere nice and warm and dry to stay if it rains. And straight ahead you can see our house. Once we'd got all our luggage in the house, we sat down for our first meal back in Zambia, which was a very tasty meal kindly prepared by our friends who work and live next to us. I hope you've enjoyed this slightly different video of our journey back to Zambia. See you soon.